Hi, welcome to Faith, Friendships, and Fun with Les. We get to be in the kitchen today, and of course, we're dealing with a little chocolate and a little peanut butter. I tried my darndest to come up with something. Raina almost thought I was making something lemon. I was like, wait, look at the top. There it is. I found this delightful recipe, and it can be called anything you want to. Chocolate, peanut butter, just make sure those are the ingredients. But the bonus is, here it is, our Lund Lutheran Church. Taste of Heaven, and inside of it is really precious. To Gladys May, that was my mama, from Annie Ann Leland, Christmas of 1990. The Lelands and the Danielsons, that's where my stock is from out there north of town. And I got the Ulrich side of me on the other side of town. Together, they made Les, and I'm grateful for it. So off I am in the kitchen, and Raina and I were just sharing. I'm going to start with this beautiful bowl that belonged in the kitchen many decades ago for a lot of you, I think. And it is what we get to use today. So, I am told that Jan Anderson had this recipe. She didn't say it was first her recipe, but she's claiming it. Good for her, because it's awfully good. People have liked it. So I'm going to begin. I've melted a half a cup of butter. Ever popular, keep the core in. I just got down looking at it, I was like, oh my stars, keep that in, Les. Okay, there's my tummy in and the core. I got my little half cup of melted butter already done. Then I'm gonna take, which is always really fun when I find things about the same way of going, a half a cup of, God bless you, sugars. Okay, here it is. Half of a brown sugar, maybe a little more. I never really pack it too tight. So half and half. Half white, half, just about a half of brown. So I'm going to go a little scant on both my sugars. I know it probably doesn't make a little bitty difference in the recipe, but you get a little less sugar that way, and I get uptight. Don't talk about, oh, I can't, because I can't have sugar. I don't like sugar. Sugar's evil. No, moderation, right? Everything in moderation. Oh, it's too good to be evil. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, so it says to cream the butter, the sugars, and some peanut butter. Okay, so I've got my peanut butter over here, or what's left of it, and I will take, and I believe the recipe tells me to give it about 1/3 of a cup. Okay, so looking in there, I might be just right there. Again, if you have baked with me, you're just going to have to trust me that it's pretty darn close, because I don't use it very often. But now picture your 1/3 measuring cup. I think it looks like it's perfect. It's exactly what you want. That much. And what? A little extra peanut butter will never hurt anybody. That's my motto. So there it is. 1/3 of peanut butter. I did, however, open another jar today to get it just in case. But this jar struggled me for about 10 minutes, and my husband did nothing but giggle at me. You know those great sealers that they put on top? Well, let me just tell you, they're not so great. Honestly, just to get this thing off, forever. Little pieces, still not perfect. For Pete's sakes, Grandma's never had to deal with stuff like that. Let me tell you, I gotta learn how to make my own peanut butter. And good for you to hopefully get challenged to make your own things in the kitchen, because it's so much fun. My friend Raina was just telling me she's gonna work on lemon pepper, and I'm like, oh, I'd love that. French dressing, there's just so many things you can take off and do. And you know what? Probably find them right here in the local cookbooks, because don't bother with that internet stuff. Anyways, I've gotten this far along, okay? I'm supposed to cream up all and then add an egg. But I generally try to get myself going a little bit with this before I put my egg in there, because I don't know, many years ago I learned that you just kind of have your egg. It should be all kind of on the separate side. So I'm going to just do a crack over there, do a quick little I can just take the spoon or whatever you're working with and just kind of mix it up by itself, and not to just make sure you get a little bit of a blend and then put it into the rest of your ingredients. Not totally sure if that's the truth that's needed, but it made sense to me when I did it. So here we go. I've creamed up butter, sugars, peanut butter, and I'm not going to put my vanilla in. Go right ahead. I just don't bake with vanilla very often. Then I'm going to take alongside of that, it calls for, and you can do this ahead of time too, but I am going to take 1 cup of oatmeal, okay? And I got this great dandy old scooper, and generally I'm going to just get pretty darn close to that cup, right? A little bit more. And then I also, and you can do it separately, of course, but I'm going to put that exact same amount. Whoops, try not to get in my oatmeal. And then I'm going to put another cup of this ingredient. A little bit more on this one. So you've got 1 cup oats and 1 cup, and it just says blend together. I just put it together, so that works. And they are asking me to give half a teaspoon of soda and a little bit of salt. So I'm one of those people, just a little bit of salt goes in there, maybe a little more. And then my soda, I just have that in bulk form. So half a teaspoon. Again, me in the kitchen, we've been buddies for a long time. So I just kind of shake it out and believe that's about a half a teaspoon. According to Les in the kitchen. It might not taste the exact same next time, but for the most part, it will be. So there it says. Once I got that all together, now add yourself these dry ingredients. And there they are. You can do this in a mixing bowl. You can do it with a big old anything you want to. Is probably what I generally do is a big mixing bowl. But growing up, I'm still growing up, but when I was probably at least, I bet 30 years of being married before I got one of those fancy old electric ones. It was my time to do a little core work though. That's why we got this going on here. It's a little bit, sometimes you'll find yourself in the kitchen working way too hard. So then when you take out your little mixing bowl, but I'm not gonna succumb to that. I'm gonna work on my core. And I'm also gonna scoop a little bit more of that butter that might help. See? All else fails, throw more butter at your recipe. So this is what I'm working at. I wonder oftentimes about these ladies sitting around in this, these cookbooks. They just bring it in and then somebody magically puts it together, or do they all talk about, you know what, you're good at this. Okay, Jan, bring that recipe in. And then there's Ann Danielson. Oh, look at that, my great aunt. She made lemon bars. I can see her doing that. So were they all like in the kitchen basement doing this stuff together? Friendships. It's so important. Our world kind of falls short of that. We go out to coffee a lot, or tea, or a drink, a beer, whatever you want to call it. But in all that time, I think the art of just talking kind of goes aside. But us women, we're pretty good at keeping it going. I don't think it was probably perfect conversation that went on in the church basements, because, loving God hopefully was first thing on their list. But you know what? Life happens. And so then they did a lot of sharing, and maybe some complaining, and maybe some crying. And a lot of stuff can happen through the years. But I think that we need to make sure that we involve ourselves in relationships. And that's what I think about when I bake. Is not, is this for just Les and Jeffers, or maybe Jace will come home? I'm kind of thinking, oh, I wonder who might stop by. I've been privileged to work in a restaurant many seasons, and I've done it way back in Colorado for many years. Nothing to bring any bragging about Les, but I have brought treats in for every restaurant I've ever worked for, and I tell you what, it's a great way to buy friends, if nothing else. I do like the fact that I can have some treats at work too. Okay, so now I'm got to that point when I've kind of put it all together. It can get, it can be a little dry, but you'll just, most of the times, you're gonna get it to that consistency. That might be a little oats still left. And then what I'm just gonna do, I'm just gonna double check that I'm clean, but a little water on your hands is really good for spreading out the treats. Anyways, getting back to my story about bringing treats into where I worked. In Colorado, it was a ski area for many years, and they came off the mountain so hungry, and I would show up with a pan of bars. And that, I tell you, definitely brought some friendships. But realistically, it just made them stop and think, well, do you take time for that? Well, everybody's got time, you know? You take time for what you love. That's the truth of it. And hopefully, if you're feeling kind of sad because, oh, I remember when I used to do that for my kids, this and that, well, guess what? You can still do it for kids. You can bring it to the churches if you're involved, or maybe your neighbors, or you hear about this person just going through this surgery. I mean, you all know that. Please, 20 and 30-year-olds, if you happen to catch this, start making that a habit, because that's what our older folks did, and it blessed the socks off many a people. All right, it is time to hit the oven. Okay, I am taking a glance at this. Now, a couple of things I'm going to quickly say to y'all. What I do is love to look at my bars. You start smelling them, and there's a little pull away on the edges of the bars, and that's when you know that it is done. According to Jan Anderson, all I needed to do was bake until it's light brown at 325. Should be glad that I looked and said, hey, this looks light brown. Another way to do it, though, just in case you don't have the time, how long you're supposed to keep it in there, is just the smell in the air and just look if the bars have pulled away just a little bit on the side.
Did you say it was approximately 10 minutes?
Yeah, I think we did about 10, 12 minutes there. And then it just a like little touch and it feels like it. So now I've got my little peanut butter bars out, but where's the chocolate? What I'm gonna do now is I've got myself about a cup of peanut butter, then I'm adding myself about, it says a half a cup. So a nice half a cup, picture it, that's in there. There it is, it's going in there. Maybe a little bit more, because you know what, why not? A little bit more peanut butter. Now I'm gonna go melt this, I'll be right on back. Okay, now I've got myself melted chocolate and peanut butter, and I start to stir a little bit of this, but I do need to add a half a cup powdered sugar. So I'm gonna take and add that to when I've already started creaming just a little bit. So this is actually a third cup in here. And it calls for a half, so I often cook like this. Like that would be just about half of that full. It's exact science around here for sure. You'll notice sometimes it's a little thicker or sweeter. And there we go. That is the powdered sugar. So chocolate, peanut butter, and powdered sugar. And hold it in really good. Yep, and just go and find this thing, and hopefully you got yourself a pretty, I could have used probably a little less sugar because it's a little thick. But we got that. But nevertheless, and when you start baking and you're like, oh, I don't like how that, like right now, I can look at this and I think I might go ahead and just sneak a little bit more peanut butter in there because it's just a little thick. Sometimes butter and powdered frosting that you make, they always tell you to add a little milk or add a little butter or something like that. And so peanut butter acts as that in baking if you want it a little bit not so thick. Okay, so there's that consistency there, and now all I have to do, Jan wants us to do this frosting while it's hot. And that makes sense, so you can have this little love on top of it. Hopefully there's enough that you can have a little to go, maybe a spoonful yourself. We're not sure. Well, I know that it is so much fun to get these together in the kitchen and kind of think and dream about those people that, like I said, from Lund Lutheran. Long time ago, some precious family came and left that place. But believe me, there's a lot of memories that still float out, and I'm sure, hopefully, has been passed down from generations to generations. And sometimes things that are good get passed down from generations. And in case it's not a healthy thing that's passed on to you, and you kind of find yourself almost cursing that, well, don't even say it, but ask God to kind of take it away from you, because we don't need to pass on anything that's not good, but hopefully learn from those that aren't so good and healthy, those blessings or curses, however you want to look at it. But always remember that your Heavenly Father is perfect, and His ways are always about love. And that's what I'm just going to give you a chance to look at right now, because wow, who wouldn't call this a look of love? Peanut butter and chocolate. Enjoy. Make yourself have a great day.